So we're going live, and welcome everyone along to Breakout Blueprints Personal Success Toolkit, and this is part four of the whole series and the last of the whole series. And we've just been talking about how sad that is, but on a brighter note, this is probably one of the key points in making any success happen in your life, and it's that little hurdle of just getting over. That little step that gets you going, that gets the momentum happening, that gets you driving towards what it is that you really wanted to do. Just to summarize very, very quickly, part one was about setting up your mission statement, which is really putting your direction down on a short script on a piece of paper so that you can reference it and know exactly where it is you're going, what you want to do, and what you want to achieve in life. The second part was all about meditation, and meditation is so critical for just getting into that quiet space, for getting control of your thoughts, and really directing those thoughts in the right fashion, in the right manner to achieve and go to the place that you want to go to. Then part three was about visualization, so it's adding another dimension. It's about adding a power factor to that process. It's really putting yourself inside an image and visualizing exactly what it would look like as if you were already accomplishing what it is you want to achieve. And of course today is purely and simply about taking that first step, about taking action, and we've got some really good content to come. What I want to do now is introduce to you our panel, and I've got two of our lovely ladies here from last week. We've got Cindy London from cindylondon.net. Welcome along, Cindy. Great to have you here today. I think you're on mute. Unmute, Cindy.
Thank you again for inviting me.
You're very welcome. It's good to have you, and also welcome Virginia Parsons from virginiaparsons.com.
Hi Stuart, hi Cindy. It's great to be here, back from vacation, and looking forward to all we have to share.
Yeah, and Virginia, you've just been up to a wonderful part of the world at Lake Tahoe, and was it warm or was it cold up there?
We experienced all 4 seasons in 1 week. We went from 6 inches of snow to 80 degrees yesterday when we came home. That was beach weather. That's Lake Tahoe for you.
Yeah, sounds like fun. So look, today what we're talking about is taking action, and the heading or the title of the session today is the one single movement that builds empires, all from one tiny decision to step forward. And I know that's sort of very big in terms of the title, but it is big in terms of what can be achieved just simply by taking that single step. And I just want to epitomize this a little bit by recounting a story, which is actually usually a joke, but just going to recount it because I think it's very poignant. And look, it does have a slightly religious element, so I'm not intending to offend anybody by telling the story. Anyway, it's a little old lady who has a dream that she's going to win the lottery. And because of this dream, she's so convinced that this is going to happen. So she gets up, she tells all her friends that she's going to win. She's sitting there, she's convinced, she's gone around town. She said, I'm going to win the lottery this weekend. And she meditates, she does all the right things, she creates all the right vibrations in and around this concept. The weekend comes along and she doesn't win, and she thinks, oh goodness me, God, you've let me down, you know, why didn't I win the lottery? Anyway, she decides that it wasn't supposed to be this weekend, it's going to be the next weekend, and the same process goes on. She goes around town, tells everybody, she meditates, she prays to God, and the weekend comes around, same thing happens. And of course this happens a third time, and after the third time she's so devastated, and she looks up towards God and she says, God, why didn't you help me? And the clouds part, and this big deep beaming voice says, you need to go and buy the ticket. and And of course it's funny, but the reality is it was the one single step that she needed to take, that action step that she needed to take. And what I want to do now is just really focus on the fact that taking that step is really quite simple. And all we need to do is to choose to do something. It doesn't need to be specific, doesn't need to be in order, it just has to be a step. And Virginia, perhaps I could come to you and invite you to talk about that very process, just taking that very first step to make something happen.
Well, Stuart, the thing is that all the other things that we've talked about, the mission statement and meditation and then visualization, are really, as you said in that story, that beautiful, poignant story, really don't amount to anything if you're not willing to step out of your comfort zone and do something about it. And the most important thing you can do is something. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as you feel that energy moving you forward rather than stuck in, not taking action, which I just sort of call the frozen mode. So you need to find something that is going to give you enough stimulation to say, I'm going to take the first step. I'm going to get a little bit out of my comfort zone, because be quite honest, you would have already taken that step if it weren't uncomfortable. So the first thing you have to recognize is, yes, this movement I'm going to take is a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it. And so I like the idea that you talk about take a small first step, and then from there take bigger steps. Would you like me to talk about the mind-storming process that I like, Stuart?
Yeah, please do, Virginia, because I really did like that concept, and I think it's very relevant to what we're doing, and a good method by which people can get going, or just get the right mindset to get going. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, the process I love, I call mind storming. Other people might call it brainstorming, but for me it is working with the mind to come up with as many ideas as possible about those steps that you're going to take. So first of all, take a look at what your goal is, and you can write your goal, which we talked a little bit about last time, in the form of a positive affirmation, in present tense, with emotion, and so that's how you start. But then from there, the question becomes, well, how do I get there? So the how do I get there is the process of mind storming. So you take the statement of your goal and turn it into a question. So for example, let's say that you want to increase your income. Let's say I'd like to double my income by the end of 2014. So you turn that into a question, and that is, how can I double my income by the end of 2014? Now you let the mind-storming process start. And the key to this is any idea that comes to you must come without judgment. It's just an idea. It's not a positive or negative, just an idea. So you ask the question, you let your mind give you an answer. You write that answer down. And actually, for some people that I'm doing this with, if I'm doing it in trance work, I would be recording that information for them. That helps them not be judgmental. But you can also do this with yourself and just push record on your recorder, whatever recording device you have. Ask the question again. How can I double my income by the end of 2014? No judgment, just let whatever comes up and put that down on paper or record that. Now what you want to do is continue asking the question, coming up with a possible answer over and over again until you have at least 20 answers. What seems to happen with this process, Stuart, is that some of the best, juiciest gems of ideas come after 15. So you want to push through that first 15. I'm not saying there won't be great ideas in the first 15, but oftentimes your creative juices really get going after 15. And the next group, and you don't have to stop at 20, but you want to at least push yourself to at least 20. Now once you've got those answers down, what you want to think about is, okay, what does get me excited? Because remember, we're talking about this fear thing that gets in the way. That is why people don't take the steps, because they feel like they're going out of their comfort zone. So what you're doing instead is looking at the ones that came up and which ones generate that energy, that feeling of excitement of, oh, this is really something I would love to do. And then you can break it down into maybe the top 3 to 5. And if you're now stumbling against as to what you're going to take the next step on, you can ask the same questions of those particular solutions and say, how can I, to the solutions that you've come up with. Now, in the end, the whole idea is you find some realistic, short, easier steps to start with, and you start taking the action on those steps. Now, what I suggest after you come up with the solutions is you also make sure that those are written down in the form of positive affirmative statements. So if you're thinking that one of the solutions for you to double your income by the end of 2014 is to put together a series of hangouts, informative hangouts, just as an example, then you would go ahead and state that. Say, I'm going to do, and going is wrong, that's future tense, I create a group of hangouts and invite people to join me so I can share my information with them. So you want it to be positive affirmative statements that are in present tense. And so it's a pretty easy process, and it's a lot of fun to explore just what solutions might come up out of your subconscious realms to give you ideas for taking action.
And what I really like about it, Virginia, is this is a pull process. So rather than sitting there thinking, you know, what am I going to do to take that first step, you've really gone to the other end of the string, so to speak, and set up a process by which it's going to drag you into taking a step. You've got to consider all of those options in terms of what you're going to do to achieve whatever it is, whether it's to double your income. And by virtue of that, you're starting to dwell on some point further down the track, so that the first step becomes so much easier and immediately breaks you out of your comfort zone, that little zone that sort of holds you back, that creates the fear of what it's going to be like when you do something that you're not usually used to doing, and you've broken free of a station or a process that you're comfortable with, and you've moved to a station or a process that is slightly uncomfortable. And perhaps, Cindy, you're welcome to add to what Virginia's added there, and maybe you can talk a little bit about how just achieving those little bit of, or those little steps of success actually get things going, and all of a sudden, you know, taking action is not so difficult anymore. Unmute yourself, Cindy.
I'm being so good this time because I'm trying not to distract anyone. Success breeds success. Set yourself up for success. Start with little tiny steps. Rome wasn't built in a day, so they say. So start small. Start with baby steps. Start with something you know that's easy to accomplish, and then do another step that's easy to accomplish. And go bit by bit, and then track your results. Track after each success. Keep a visual chart or a graph or a checklist, and then start visualizing. See it in front of you, just where you are and what you've done, and that in and of itself will give you more confidence. Oh, look, I did that. Oh, look, I did 3 things last week that I didn't do before. Wow. Also celebrate each success. Do something to reward yourself. I wanted to talk a little bit about, I have an ebook coming out. Can I talk a little bit about that, Stuart?
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, go ahead.
It's called Why Set Goals and How to Write Goals That Work. And this is based on my own experience and my experiences with my clients that have had very good success in writing goals and in writing action steps and in completing them and getting what they want. So I think one of the things that, and I agree wholeheartedly with what Virginia had stated about the brainstorming. I use brainstorming as well. And I think part of it is there's this judgment that we are used to hearing about, oh, that's ridiculous, and that's just too hard to do, and don't even try it. And that particular voice, which I've talked over and over about, that critical voice in our head, we need to just say thank you very much, and you may sit down now and continue. So there's different methods for doing that, and one is the brainstorming method. Another is automatic writing. If you just start to write, and this is also called stream of consciousness, and you start to write and you do not allow the pen or the paper or the pencil to lift off the page, and you continue to write. And the question is, what how can I accomplish whatever the specific goals are, the specific goal is, and then you write for maybe 2 pages or 3 pages, and you do not stop. And the juiciest parts come at the end. It's come when we think we can't think of anything more because we've already figured out all of the logical steps. And the juicier parts come at the end, and it's very interesting what can show up. So open yourself up to that possibility and allow your creative mind to jump in and help out your logical mind, and you'll see some different things come out of yourself that will surprise you. So I need to turn my phone off now.
Thank you. I thought it was Tinkerbell that had arrived there for a minute.
Yeah.
But,
so that's what I have to say about that, and my ebook will be ready. You can email me for my ebook at goals@cindylondon.net, and probably by tomorrow it will be available on my website, cindylondon.net, www.cindylondon.net. So that's my little promo for the ebook. But it is such an important thing to write steps, to have a map of where it is you want to go, and for this to come from the right mindset. The right mindset is your creative self, is your authentic self, is your place of possibilities. It's not from the negative self. It's not from you can't do this anymore, you're too old, or you're too dumb, or you're too, whatever is that tape that you hear in your head. That's not the place to write goals. That's not the place to write action steps. And in order to get into that space, I talk about that in my ebook, how to get into that space. It's not okay, I'm just going to write my to-do list today.
Sure, and look, this series is all about helping everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're old or young, male, female, whoever you are, whatever you are. This is so pertinent and so useful, and it really makes me quite sad that they don't teach a lot of this in school. And we're talking about your personal success toolkit, and this is part 4, which is to take action. And I'm joined here by Cindy London and Virginia Parsons. And look, viewers, if you're interested in asking any questions, please by all means pop it in the comments below. Also, you can tell us a little bit about where you're coming from, anything you like, but pop in a comment and just tell us a little bit about what else you would like to know in this session today, and we'll have a look and see if we can get to that shortly. So just coming back.
Could I also add one other thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, in our list, we think we have to do it all ourselves. And there are some things that we're good at, and there's some things that we're not very good at. And this is for everyone. And the things that we're not so good at, farm out. Delegate that out. When you get stuck and you're spending hours and hours on the internet because you can't figure out how to write code or whatever, you need to send that out to a virtual assistant or an IT person or something. You are not in this alone. So farm things out that you can't do yourself.
Yeah, and that's a great suggestion. Or you could even just talk to friends or family and just find somebody in your close network that you can bounce things off, and tell them exactly what it is you're doing, what you're intending to do, and what your hold-ups are, what the stumbling blocks could be. And I'm sure through a little bit of brainstorming there that you can get some momentum, get some ideas about what you can do to go forward. And a lot of the critical aspect to that is really focusing on the activities that are going to give results. And perhaps, Virginia, you could give us a little bit of enlightenment on that process. We really want to do the right things right from the get-go, and please come in and give us some ideas there.
Well, I call that, Stuart, focusing on the 80-20 rule. And 80% of your time is really spent on sort of busy activities. They may feel urgent, but they're not important. 20% is really where you need to focus and do those activities first. Those are important tasks. Those are the tasks that only you can do and do well. Those are the things that are going to get you from wanting to accomplish a goal to actually getting there. So whenever you have a task come up, think about it. Is this something that only I can do and do effectively? Or is this a task that I can, as Cindy was saying, outsource or turn over to someone else? Now, when you're creating your solutions, and all of these are indeed solutions, when you do the mind-storming process, the answer to your question, how can I, is a solution or a possible solution. But just because it's a solution doesn't mean it's something you should be doing personally. Right. So 80% of those things are definitely something that can be done elsewhere, or they're busy work, or they're ways of procrastinating that aren't really in your best interest in accomplishing your goal. So I always tell people in the 80-20 rule, focus on the 20% activities that are the most important, that are going to move you the fastest to the end result that you're seeking. Now, another thing I'd like to add to this goes with the mind and the body process, and that is your thoughts about the actions that you take. I think I might have alluded to this earlier on, but for every thought that we have, there is a central nervous system physiological response. So in paying attention to your thoughts, and then where you would direct your activities in relation to those thoughts, make sure again that it's a thought that's uplifting. So if you get into those thoughts that have to do with those fears, Cindy's talking about that person on your shoulder that's trying to beat you up, those are the ones that are intimidating you and holding you back. You need to knock them off your shoulder and get refocused on the thoughts that bring you up in energy and get you doing the result-producing tasks that you've come up with that are most appropriate for you. And another thing you might keep in mind is, even if you had an intention for a task and an outcome for that task, and it didn't turn out exactly the way you thought it did, again, take a look at what about that activity or the results that you got from that activity you can build upon that are positive, that are constructive, that reinforce, I can do this. Whatever the task might be, I can do this. This is what I take from the so-called failure, because we all know there's no such thing as a failure. You take the positives from it, you grow from that, create the next task, or what I say is, well, what's the next step? Always asking yourself, what's the next step? And again, this goes back to let's take some small incremental steps, reassess, evaluate, adjust, and take the next step. And always keeping in touch with the feelings, the emotions, knowing that if your emotions are heightened and uplifted and positive, you're focusing on the solutions. If you find your emotions are, sort of pushing you down, they're loaded with fear and intimidation, now you're focusing on your fears, not on the solution. So you always turn it back to focusing on the solution, take another step, reinforce, I did that, or what part of it you did that you liked, that you created a good result with, and if there was a negative downside to it, just say, well, how can I go back to the mind-storming? How can I correct that particular problem to move forward into the solution?
Yeah, and look, fantastic there, Virginia. There's really good concepts, and the 20-80 rule, and I like the way you switch that around, and it's not 80-20, it's the 20-80 rule. I think is just really apt for this sort of thing, and making sure that you take those right steps, as you mentioned. One of the things that we talked about in the last session was visualization, and again, I come back to this pool scenario. And I like visualizations for creating a pool situation. Cindy, can you talk to us a little bit about how we can use visualizations to keep that passion, to keep the focus and the energy on taking those simple steps to move forward?
Absolutely. You visualize your goal, you visualize the end result. You visualize the end result, and you visualize it as already having happened, that it's happening right this second. So if your goal is to make $100,000 this year, then you visualize looking at your bank account and seeing $100,000 in your bank account, and you visualize getting checks in the mail, and you visualize seeing your account changes, the changes in your account. And you visualize, not only are you visualizing that, but you're feeling it in every part of your body. You are feeling excited and happy, and you're not thinking about what you're going to buy with it. You're feeling the feelings of it. Okay, that's what you want to get into. You want to feel the feelings of it. So that's how I would help people to use visualization, to visualize things visualize the result that what you want to attain, and get into that with every single sensory cell in your body.
And look, absolutely, it's getting into those visualizations and feeling feeling the concepts that are born by being inside the image, being in touch with what's happening, seeing it move around you is vitally important, because all of a sudden we start to attach the emotions, as Virginia said, that are so critical to making this work. And one other critical element too is knowing your whys. And I find this is a concept that people don't particularly relate to very well. Is what is a why? You know, what is the reason why we do something? And you know, whilst we look at, for example, what Virginia was talking about before is doubling our income. Why do we want to double our income? Is it to provide education for our children, or is it to take a nice long holiday at the end of the year? Or some other benefit, or some other event, shall we say, or result that really is the motivating factor. And it's really important to get in touch with these. So you've got to find out, okay, I want to double my income, but why do I really want to double my income? It's because I'm going to get certain things that having that income can give me. What are those things that it can give me? I can put my child through private school. Or we can go for a holiday to Paris and go to Disney World in Paris, or you know, and so on and so on. So you've really got to find those whys, put them down, and keep them as part of your visualization process as well, because that is the real driving force behind everything else that you're going to be doing. Is those special moments and outcomes that you know you treasure deep down inside, that make your life fulfilling and meaningful. I just want to come back to just playing the video of your growth, and Virginia, perhaps if you want to just add a little bit there, is really getting inside that video and using that as the draw card to make that step. How worthwhile is that process?
I think, excuse me, I think it's critical. Because really whatever's impressed in the subconscious realms is going to be expressed in the external world. So just start from that. So the question becomes, how do we impress this in a way that is believable? So now we're getting back to belief. When you're talking about the whys, some people, to be quite frank, are not as clear about their whys or what they want as what they don't want. So sometimes you have to help them get past into what their why is by making sure you know what they don't want. Okay, once you know what you don't want, then let's just flip this 180 degrees and take a look at what you do want, and notice how much better you feel, how much more enlivened and uplifted you feel. So if someone is thinking about, let's talk about a basic one that is just so prevalent in our society, and that is weight loss. Why do people want it? Many people want it just because it makes them feel better about themselves. Other people are driven by some real physical issues, in which case their want becomes, I want to be healthy, so I'm around to play with my grandkids, or I'm around for my child's wedding, or whatever that might be. And again, these whys, it's imperative that they become something that person is really connected with. What makes sense to you as a coach may not have any driving momentum to it for the client. So when you're tapping into those whys, it doesn't hurt to touch on the what I don't want, because fear can drive somebody into doing the right thing for themselves. Now, adding visualization, I think I talked about before, is it's a reinforcing process. And what I like to do with people is get them into the energy of that process. So that's why I always work on using an anchor and a code word. It's just a very well-known NLP technique that helps a person anchor the feelings once they've uplifted that energy, that visualization of their life having already accomplished their goal. So I think that you combine all those three together. And why does that work better? Because some people don't visualize very well. You know, they may be more kinesthetic. They may be more auditory. And so you have to give them a means of getting to the feeling inside their body to create the solution that they've intended for themselves. So I love those anchors. Remember what I told you about the gal, and in that case, that was a woman who was striving to lose weight, and she was always giving her energy to her whole family. She had 5 kids. She was a nurse. She was working full-time taking care of other people and taking care of her family, and there was no time to take care of her. And the best way she could find in her body to anchor the result-producing activity she wanted was Rambo power being her code word, and this being nobody's going to get in my way. So I think that visualization is important, but I think you need to add the other elements to really drive it home for the individual.
And I would concur with that, if I could just jump in, Stuart. The vision board that I spoke about, it also reinforces it if you are visually oriented. If you're not visually oriented, then find the modality that works for you. If it's sound, then maybe music. If it's movement, then maybe it's dancing. Whatever works for you to anchor the idea, the vision, the energy, the emotion of what it is that you want. And really it comes down to what it is, who you are, why you are here, what is the purpose of your life, and why then are you down this road with this particular goal, and how does that look? So, you know, it can be a lot of different things. It can be creating joy for other people, or creating, you know, a beautiful, whatever it is for you. It could be different, but as you said, the coach cannot create the goal. The coach cannot create the vision. You have to do that. You have to know who you are and what your values are and what's important to you and why you are here on this earth. And then from that space, from that very, very deep heart space, you can create all these other things. But that's the first step, and we talked about that some time ago. But that, again, is very critical.
And thanks, Cindy. I mean, it's just lovely how we keep relating back to the components of the first 3 parts of the Personal Success Toolkit, because they're all part and parcel of this. They're all interwoven, and putting them together, these really quite simple processes can have such a big difference on our lives. And I just want to touch now on perhaps the last thing to talk about today, which is just rewarding ourselves, because I think many people set out on their endeavours and they're putting in lots of energy, achieving lots of results, and getting over the line in many cases, but they just don't reward themselves for it, and so they don't get the right feeling attached to what they've actually achieved by taking a step. And Cindy, do you want to add a little bit about how rewards are important? Because you mentioned this before, and I think it's a particularly important part of this process.
Rewards are important because you're recognizing that you have achieved something. Otherwise, you feel like you're in a never-ending process, that you're on a hamster wheel, and you just have too much to do, and you're never going to get it done, and it's on and on and on. You need to reward yourself for each step that you accomplish. And that keeps you motivated, and that keeps you going. That's the importance of rewards.
And these rewards can be anything really. They don't need to be really massive. It can be just something simple.
Exactly. They could be as simple as just playing with your dog for a few minutes.
Yeah, or a glass of wine at dinner time, or something that really, you know, floats your boat and gets you feeling good. And so you can attach something to the result that says, I really enjoyed achieving that. I'm going to do this again. Would you agree with that, Virginia?
Absolutely. I work with a lot of women, so a lot of the awards, and again, the award has to come from the person who has the goal. So, I just help, nurture that. Well, what haven't you been doing for yourself that would really feel good? I'll tell you what comes up for women. It's going and getting their hair done. It's going and getting nails done. It's getting a massage. It's going out and buying, a new dress. Those kind of things that they, so often women are just so nurturing to everyone else and neglect to give themselves the little things that don't cost a lot but could really help them feel good. Oh, lunch out with the gals would be a good one too. But they don't have to be big things, but they do, I think, have to come from a place of nurturing, making you feel better. Now, for the guys, it might be a sporting event. I'm really not sure. You'd have to speak up to that, Stuart. But I think it has to be something that is uplifting and nurturing.
Thanks, Virginia. And yeah, definitely, I've got to come up with something for the guys now, don't I? So it might be going to the game on the weekend, or a couple of drinks with some friends at the local garden bar, or something to that effect. Or it could be just something simple, like if you play golf, you might go and buy a new set of golf balls. The really premium ones that you always wanted. So. Obviously, for men and women, it's different, and I can't speak for all men because men have very, very many different tastes and activities. But it's just got to be something simple. You got to attach a feeling of saying, well, that was really worthwhile, and I feel good. And when that happens,
yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Cindy.
I just moved, and so I have boxes everywhere. So I could feel overwhelmed and say, I'm never going to get this done. But I have selected XYZ boxes that get to be unpacked, and when when one box gets to be unpacked, I take a break and I do something good. And maybe it's watching TV for a few minutes, or maybe it's going outside on the deck and looking at the beautiful backyard that I have. But when I get all 3 boxes done, then I'm going to do something really big, and that's going to be, I'm going to go to the flower shop and I'm going to buy some flowers for my deck to plant, and I'm very excited about that. So that's what would be for me. So what it would be for someone else, maybe, I'm sure, would be totally different. But yes, it's very important to set up those mini rewards, and then a little larger reward, and then when the whole thing gets done, then it's major reward. Okay, then it's major reward. I haven't figured out what my major reward is yet.
Cool, and thanks very much. Now we virtually come to the end, ladies. I'm going to invite you to talk a little bit about yourselves and what you do in just a minute, but I just want to perhaps finalize today's session about taking action. So before we talk about what it is that you do and where people can go to find you, can we just perhaps round out the session here? Just give us a short paragraph about taking action and how to make that fulfilling for yourselves, and then I'll give a bit of a summary, and then you can tell everybody about where you're from and what you do. So perhaps, Virginia, if I start with you for that round out.
Well, I'll give you a really simple tip, and that is whatever your goal might be, write down 3 action steps you can take right away. Something, again, let's keep it really simple. 3 easy steps you can take right away. Now, a step might be as simple as making a phone call to get more information on something. So it doesn't have to be something that's major, it takes weeks to do. 3 easy steps that you can say, got that done, got that done, got that done. I feel good about that. Now what's the next step? And always keep that in mind. What is the next step?
Thank you. And Cindy, your turn.
Oh, I think obviously writing down 3 easy steps that you can do right now is very important. I agree with Virginia. I would also say that you want to select an accountability partner, and this is very critical. someone that either will give you a little emails or little phone calls. How are you doing? Where are you? And it just to be doing that, not to chit chat about the weather or children or whatever else is on the agenda, but simply to be for the sole purpose of helping you get through whatever action step it is, and not doing it for you, but just reminding you. And by having that person that you know is going to be checking on you, you are more likely to get it done. And it can be just email, it could be a text or whatever, but setting up that accountability partner is very critical in getting the work done.
Thank you very much for that. That's a useful add-on as well. Thank you, Cindy. So just going to quickly summarize what we've been talking about today. We've been talking about taking action, those small steps, and we started off with mindstorming. Virginia talked about mindstorming, and that's a process by which you write down a whole series of ideas about what you can do to achieve a certain objective. And then we said, don't have any judgment in that process. You know, just put down anything, everything, whatever comes to mind. Keep in mind the thought concept of how can I. A lot of people are running around the world saying, can I do this? Can I do this? Change that. Have how can I, and then start to think through those concepts that can fulfill how can I. And then the next item is take very small steps. You don't have to leap Mount Everest in the first session. So just take the small step, and take those little steps, and just keep in mind that if you have a 20-80 rule, so focus on the 20 things of the 100 that are really going to have the most effect very quickly, and keep in mind what's the next step. So when you're starting your steps, I think I've got these out of order, I'm sorry, but when you're taking your next steps, what is the next step? Keep in mind what it is you're going to do next after the one that you're doing now. Get in touch with your whys. The whys are things that often we don't sort of materialize very well in terms of identifying them and visualizing them. And if we can find those whys, these are the things that really do drive us. Then they're going to have a big help in terms of getting your first action steps happening. And finally, I seem to have gone off screen for some reason, but finally is to reward yourself. And just by rewarding yourself, you attach those little emotional contents that really help you to define that you've done something worthwhile, and it's of pertinent value to what you're going to do to achieve whatever it is that you're aiming to achieve. Now, what I want to do now is introduce again our panel, and I'll start with you, Virginia, and invite you to talk about what you do and where you're from and where people can go to find your work and your materials, please.
Thank you for this opportunity, Stuart. I also want to say thank you just for the opportunity to share all these wonderful ideas with Cindy and yourself and Lisa when she was with us. My company is called Life Enhancement Services, but I have a website that's named after me. It's virginiaparsons.com. And at virginiaparsons.com, you have the opportunity, if you want to buzz over there and pick up my free 5-step course. It's a video course called Shatter Your Own Glass Ceiling. And that is all about taking the next steps and reaching new heights of success in your business and in your life. And it also is accompanied with PDFs, so those PDFs are downloadable, and those are the tools or the templates that give you the action steps that you can take to move from where you're currently at to where you want to be to shatter your own glass ceiling. So I invite you to go to virginiaparsons.com and check it out. I will say I've been doing hypno coaching for about 25 years now. Thoroughly enjoy helping people reach new heights of success. I've even translated that over into Hangout coaching, and I am starting a new membership site in Hangout coaching, which is called hangoutmentor.com. You're welcome to check that out as well. Again, I want to thank you for including me in this panel. It's just been great fun.
Thanks for that, Virginia, and it's been awesome having you on this show too. And I really value the the content that you've provided for not only today's session but the whole 4 sessions. It's really added significant value to everything, and I think anybody watching in, by all means, please go back and look at the replays, because you're going to get a lot of value, and particularly the content there that Virginia has contributed throughout the series. Cindy, can I invite you to tell us about yourself, where you're from, and where people can go to get some information?
My name is Cindy London. I am from Columbia, Maryland, in the United States, which is on the East Coast of the United States. And my website is www.cindylondon.net. My ebook is available. You can email me at goals@cindylondon.net, and I will send you a link to download the ebook. And most likely by tomorrow, the ebook will be available on my website to download. And today is Memorial Day. So for those of you that are listening or watching via tape, I am a life coach and goal strategist. I work with people who are feeling overwhelmed and having issues with getting the results they want, and I help them to get what they want and feel freedom from overwhelm and worry and distraction and disorganization, so that they can have more free time and more money and achieve a better lifestyle. I'm also a licensed and certified speech language therapist. I have been doing that all my adult life, except for then the coaching, which is the last few years. But it melds together because it's all building on helping people to develop goals that help themselves. So I've been doing that for a very long time with working professionally with people, and moving them into a more enhanced and empowered way of being. So that's what I do. I work via Skype, Google Hangouts. I work a lot of times on the phone and in my office, and focus on getting people through those obstacles, to help them to stop listening to that voice that says, I can't, it's too much, it's too hard, to help them push through that and to get what it is that they want in their life, and to put that whole plan together and to get moving. So that's what I do, and I love what I do. And thank you, Stuart, for inviting me. This was so much fun, and it was so much fun to meet you, Virginia, and to work with you, Lisa, too, and Stuart. This has been just the best, so thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Cindy. You're entirely welcome. And just to endorse what Cindy has just been talking about, her new ebook is What is Goal Setting? And she had the link there in her lower third, but we will put the link up on the comment section underneath, and you'll be able to link directly to that either by email, or if you go to her website tomorrow. I believe, Cindy, you said that it was going to be up tomorrow, so people could access that and download it. And I want to again say thank you to you as well for your content. You've added valuable insights, and what I love about the whole series is that each person has come to this with different elements and different advice and different methodologies that people can implement, and anyone watching can pick and choose from all the bits and pieces that everybody has been adding in this series. So I really appreciate that. I think it's made it a wonderful series. I just want to confirm that the website for Cindy is cindylondon.net. So if you're looking to get hold of Cindy or find out what else she's got for you, you can go to that website. And for Virginia, it's virginiaparsons.com. Ladies, I hope I've got these right, but if you go to Virginia's website, there's substantial content there that I'm sure that you'll find extremely valuable. Now, what I want to do is just tell you about my Find Your Life Purpose book. This book is really critical for helping you to just determine what it is you really want to do with your life. So just making contact with that key fundamental element that sets you up and drives you towards what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and what's going to have meaning for you when you get to the end of your life and look back. What is the thing that really you wanted to do all that time? And it's very important that we make contact with that, because we can go through a lot of our life and not do the things that we really wanted to do deep down inside. So that book's available at Amazon. You can get access to that through, wrong place, this link here, stuart-harris.net/purpose. That'll take you straight to my book, The 7 Steps to Find Your Life Purpose. At the beginning of our series, we talked about setting up a mission statement, and there's a mission template at this URL, stuartharris.net/mission. And in the second episode, we talked about meditation, and one of the series that I found very, very useful for that is the Silver methodology. You can access that at stuartharris.net/silver, and that will introduce you to some meditation methodologies and techniques that are just really beyond the realms of just fundamentals. It's really good stuff, and I can't promote it enough. Go there, find what you need, and make it work for you in whichever way you can. Ladies, I'm going to round out the session today with a short story about the tiger and the fox. But I'll invite you to just give us final words, please, if you wouldn't mind, and I'll kick off with you, Cindy.
Oh, I forgot to add that I use EFT, and I have a blog that comes out on Wednesdays. Well, this has just been so wonderful, and I thank you so much for this. Seeing people move into a direction and getting what it is they truly want is so joyful for me to see. People just become different and blossom in front of my eyes, and it is such a joy to see that. I have an unstoppable guarantee, and I do believe that you can become unstoppable. So. And so I dare everyone to become unstoppable, and that includes you, Stuart. Come on, I know you are. And you too, Virginia. We are all unstoppable.
I agree. We are all unstoppable, and thank you, Cindy, for those kind words. And Virginia, your turn.
Well, I would finalize or summarize everything with the word create. And by that I mean go out and create the life you desire, and go out and create the life you deserve. Let's just set it up with that. Go create.
Thank you very much. And I'm about to recount a short story which I hope has an effect on anyone listening to it, because I think it really sums up how we need to address what comes into our life and the opportunities that are there for us to take hold of and go and make something, as Virginia said, to create. So the story is about a woodsman or a huntsman or whatever you like to call him, and he's out in the woods lamenting his daily grind to get his daily food. He's really fed up with this. It's such a chore. And he comes across a little fox, and the fox is lying there, and it's got a broken leg. And obviously the fox is not able to get any food anymore, and he's dwelling on what he needs to do about this when out of the woods comes a tiger, and the tiger has some prey that it's caught, and he props down not 20 feet away and proceeds to have his meal, devour this prey, and a little bit of it's left, and he gets up, the tiger gets up, he goes away, the fox sees that there's some of this food left, and he manages to drag himself across to the rest of the food and eat what's left there. And the huntsman thinks about this, and he says, well, I don't really need to go and find my meal. If I wait for it, somebody will come and bring it to me. And without staying and looking at this on a daily basis to see if it reoccurs, he goes back to his cabin in the woods, and he sits in his cabin, and day out he waits for the food to come to him. And he can't work this out. He doesn't understand why the tiger brought the food to the fox, but nothing is being brought to him. And eventually he gets to the point where he's half dead, half sick in bed. He's suffering from malnutrition, and he wonders why this has happened. And a little angel appears in the cabin and says to him, you know, you had all the attributes of the tiger, and yet you chose to be the fox. And my question for you, just to round out this hangout today, is, are you the tiger or are you the fox? And which one of those should you be? And with that, I'd like to say thank you to Cindy and Virginia. Thank you very, very much for a wonderful series. I've really enjoyed the whole thing, and I'm closing out right now.